If you remember where we left off in the last story, 2 weeks from then, you would assume that Peter Sam would have had his trailing wheels mended, and the worn-out Reneas would be relieved from service. But, if you look across the shadowed Bengless Valley, you would be surprised to find the little old engine still clanking back and forth on the line with his rickety coaches and guard's van. Peter Sam's wheels had not yet been returned from the workshops, so he was still standing in the shed upright with jacks and chains awaiting them. Sir Handel, however, had been mended. He stood behind Peter Sam in the workshop, waiting for his cabin tank to be refitted. Reneas, in the meantime, pounded the rails gallantly each day of the week, coming to a stop at each station with a desperate sigh, relieved for the short-lived luxury of a rest. The 80-year-old engine had been battered by the Skarloey's rough road. Every time he ran over a rail joint, a new crack would develop, or a small item straining to hold the engine together would fall off. Despite every lurch, bump, and bang, Reneas just gritted his teeth and carried on, maintaining the railway's routine passenger service. It was a damp Friday afternoon in the back end of August. The fireman had taken ill, and the engineer, Mr. Hugh, was busy getting Sir Handel prepared in time to continue the service from Monday onwards. The manager, in their absence, stepped in as fireman for the 2 trains that day, and a volunteer took his place as guard. On the morning train, after much slipping up the gradient to Gallant, Reneas felt something unusually loose in the right side of his valve gear. With the knowledge that Mr. Hugh was busy, he decided not to tell the manager, and so carried on as usual. That afternoon, everything was as normal for what should be Reneas' last train, at least until the railway could afford his long-awaited overhaul. Reneas rested in the sidings, taking on coal and water, and sizzling peacefully as he watched the passengers arrive at the platform. It had been raining recently. In spite of this, many tourists and enthusiasts had turned out to join the little old relic on his final journey. He was determined to let nothing ruin this day. "I'll be fine," he whispered to himself. "It's just one train." "Come on, old boy," called the manager. "We're due to leave in 5 minutes." Reneas hissed steam and crawled over the points to the head of the loop. At this point, people swarmed around the engine, snapping photographs at every angle. Reneas' driver could hardly see as they backed down onto the coaches. Reneas gave a long, cheerful blast on his whistle, and with a burst of steam and much wheel slip, he began his ascent to the top station. As he approached the station beside the shed, he spotted Mr. Hugh working on Sir Handel through the open door of the workshop. "I can't give in now, come on! One last train and it'll be your turn to be mended," he thought to himself. After a minute's rest, the guard blew the whistle and Reneas slipped out of the station once again, struggling to grip the rails. He ran through Krosny Kjern and bravely tackled the hill. Despite the use of his sanding gear, Reneas' wheels just span furiously as he tore up the line. Then, for a moment, everything seemed to run smoothly. Reneas' valve gear stopped rattling, and he gained a firm grip on the rails. But with a sudden bang, his wheels locked and he ground to a sudden stop. They had stopped on the loneliest part of the line. There was not a road, town, or telephone for miles. The driver, guard, and the manager got down and looked over their engine. The driver broke the silence. "Ah, there's our problem," His eccentric rod has seized up on its sheave. Must have slipped out of position from all the drama on the way up. Now what? Well, the passengers need to catch their trains home at Croven's Gate. We won't be able to get to the top station and back now, with or without a running engine. We could disconnect the rods on this side and make it to Gallant in one cylinder. At least we'll get the locals home. From there we can just stroll back down. Half a mile and uphill, isn't it? Do you think you can manage, Reneas? I'll try, sir. After 20 minutes, they had removed the cranks and tied up Reneas' valve gear to the boiler lagging bands. The guard walked ahead, pouring sand on the rail. With some of the passengers pushing behind, the old engine started to move. Inch by inch, he gradually picked up momentum and began to climb the last half mile to Gallant. I can do it! I can do it! Go on, old boy, keep at it! Reneas' vision blurred. He could hardly breathe, but he ran on and on. Eventually, they turned the bend, and with steam leaking from every angle, he gave a shrill blast of his whistle, clattered over the points, and came to a stop in the loop. The passengers cheered, and the locals got out and thanked the crew. Once they had walked off the platform, the manager hopped down from the cab and had a quiet word with Reneas. You didn't really think you could manage, did you? No, sir. If I'm honest, I really didn't. Well, I'll let you catch your breath before we head back down the line. An easy run home for you, you gallant little engine. They coasted into the wharf station just 4 minutes behind the scheduled time. Reneas sighed with relief and let off steam gently. The passengers thanked Reneas and his crew for getting them there safely, and then left to board their trains home. That evening, when Reneas returned to the shed, he found the manager waiting for him beside the door. I can't thank you enough for today, Reneas. Quite an adventurous last run, I must say. Not a single person asked for a refund for their unexpired half tickets, not something you would usually expect in a game of railway Monopoly. You've picked up quite a bit of fame, old boy. We've made quite a few friends in high places, and Hunslet has offered to overhaul you. All we have to do is pay for a lorry to take you to their works, and if things work out as planned, we should have you away by the end of the season. I can't do it!